Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
So with us, we have Georgia governor candidate, Republican, Ken Yasger. You are a Georgia Army National Guard sergeant. You joined the U.S. Army, later the Georgia Army National Guard, dedicating over 12 years to serving our country, and state. Among your priorities, according to your website, you say that Georgians deserve fair, unbiased leadership that will put Georgians first. You want to eliminate the state income tax, implement regulatory legalization of marijuana, legalize gambling, capping education, administrative salaries, and increase teacher salaries, as well as giving Georgia families the relief they need at the gas pump by suspending the gas tax. So you know all of that because those are your priorities. That's
yes, ma'am.
For our audience here. But for those who might be looking at this interview and wondering why in the world I'm interviewing you, who are you, Mr. Ken Yasger?
So my name's Ken Yasger. I was active duty in the 1st Ranger Battalion for 4 years, been in the Georgia Guard for 10 years, so going on 14 years now. 4 deployments to the Middle East, 3 to Afghanistan, and then my last deployment was to the Middle East last year. Got back in December. I'm running for governor because I'm tired of the party politics, I'm tired of the partisanship, and when I'm deployed or I go to my drill once a month, I don't have an elephant or a donkey on my right shoulder, it's the American flag. And I want Americans to feel that again. I grew up, when I was 12 years old is when 9/11 happened. And Republicans and Democrats didn't die in those towers. A lot of Americans died. And when I was growing up, we had Toby Keith, courtesy of the red, white, and blue, and you were loving the American flag no matter who the president was. We've kind of gone away from that. And my party has kind of taken the American flag and kind of used it as our own. I have a lot of liberal Democrat friends. We don't agree on policy, but I want them to love the American flag just like I do. And that's why I'm running for governor.
And it's interesting because you come from Savannah, which is pretty much blue.
Pretty much, very.
Yeah. Would you agree with that?
Yes, ma'am.
Why do you consider yourself a Republican?
Because I'm a fiscal conservative. I am pro-life, I'm a Christian, but I don't think my religion should necessarily dictate laws, just dictate my morals. I'm extremely pro-Second Amendment. That's the one issue that there is no compromise for me. It's not the gun, it's the mental health issues that's going on in our country. Democrats and Republicans want to talk about mental health, but they don't do anything about it. But I've lived through it. I've been to that very low place, and so mental health is a big top priority for me. But I've always grown up, I'm a constitutionalist, and I do believe the original Republican values are a constitutional, fiscally conservative, states' rights, pro-constitution party, and that's what I belong to.
In a recent governor's forum by the NAACP, you were invited to participate.
Yes, ma'am.
With some other notable candidates here. When you were speaking there, you had mentioned that some people might call you a RINO, Republican in name only.
Daily, yes, ma'am.
And it's a term that we have heard, I would say, emerge since the first Trump administration, where certain people did not feel that Republicans were being Republicans. They were just calling themselves Republicans to get the support of all Republicans. You obviously disagree with that.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely.
Why do you disagree with that?
Because what RINO has turned into is if you start criticizing President Trump, you're a RINO. I was never a RINO until after 2020 when I started veering away from, at the time, former President Trump. And then I started getting called a RINO. Up until 2020, I mean, I was a big supporter. I had the Trump flags, I had the Trump shirt, I had the MAGA hat, there was stuff on my car. I was a big supporter up until 2020. Never had I been called a RINO, I was calling people RINOs. I did do that. 2020 really opened my eyes to, I serve the people of the United States. I respect the office of the Commander-in-Chief, but the Constitution is what I swear my oath to. And when you start veering away from constitutional priorities is when I start opening my eyes. So now and most Republicans don't even know what the term RINO is. It's just the fringe right that want to call people RINOs when you disagree with them. But like I said in that forum, Republican in name only. Republican and Democrat are just names anyways. They're names of political parties that we use to get people elected. I always tell people, you can be the better Republican, I'll be the better American.
Let me ask you about your support for President Trump. In that forum, you also said that too many Republicans are trying to suck up to Donald Trump or just tiptoe around him. You clearly said that you supported him in 2016. Did you vote for him in 2016?
Very, very big. Campaigned hard. Yes, ma'am.
And did you vote for him in 2020?
Very big. Campaigned hard. Yes, ma'am.
The last election, did you vote for him in 2024?
Yes, I did.
So you
Well, I did, but my vote did not count because I was overseas, and I voted absentee. And I just need to set the record straight. I did forget that my ballot got stuck in New York and was never counted in Georgia.
But you marked Donald Trump.
I did. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Okay. So I just want to make it clear because on the voting record, I did not vote, but to clear the record, my ballot just never made it to Georgia, even though it was sent in by the deadline they gave us.
Absolutely.
Yes, ma'am.
So you have voted for President Trump. Do you support his policies, or what kind of your thought process? If you were, what you had just told me is that your viewpoint from the president changed from 2016 to 2020. Why do you continue to vote for him? I
wouldn't again.
Why?
He has gone away from the original promises he had. He wanted, I just shared a video in 2016. One thing I absolutely agreed with was I was tired of President Obama's executive orders. He signed, I believe, 276 in 8 years, and I think that's ridiculous. I don't think executive orders are constitutional. You should go through the Congress the way the Constitution was set, which the Constitution set in place. Now President Trump has signed over 400. 2016 Trump and 2025 Trump policy-wise is not the same. And I think a lot of people are waking up to that. A lot of people who are going to be voting in the primaries aren't going to like that I say that. But I will never give my allegiance to a politician. It will always be to the majority of the people because that's what actually matters. So policy difference is why I do not support a lot of the current policies that are going on.
And we do know that the president has put his backing behind Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones for this race. What is your thought about that?
Oh, good. I don't care. I don't want any politician's endorsement. The only endorsement I want are the people that I serve at the restaurant I work at, the people I serve within the military. I don't understand, like, with all due respect to President Trump and Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones, it always makes me laugh when a candidate for governor is sucking up to the White House when it's their job to suck up to us. The states are what matter in this country, and it's not our job to work for the president. It's their job to try to work with us for what's best for our people. And I don't understand why a New York politician, now Florida politician, is the endorsement that you want to run Georgia. Because if you ask me, the last 5 years, President Trump has been fighting everything actually 6 years, because he told us not to reopen during COVID. We did anyways because states' rights, and I thank God we did. And I'm in the National Guard. I was activated during COVID, and we were cleaning nursing homes, going to help the hospitals. So for me, I'm a big states' rights guy. President Trump puts his hand in the states too much, and so no, I do not want an endorsement from any politician that wants to put their hands in my state when you're not even from here. I want to keep Georgia, Georgia.
Now, what you're saying could make you very unpopular among some Georgians. As you know, in the last election, he did carry the state, our state considered a swing state.
A lot of people did not vote for Trump. They voted against Kamala Harris and the Democrats. I truly believe the majority of Georgians want the federal government and the state government out of their lives anyways. And once I make the point on why the federal government is overreaching right now into the states, it's going to resonate with people. Now, will it resonate into votes? I'm not sure. But I would rather speak the truth and lose every election I ever run than ever pander to a politician to try to gain votes.
Where are you seeing that overreach, in your opinion?
What's that?
Where are you seeing that federal overreach into the state, like, in your opinion?
I think the big beautiful bill wasn't fiscally conservative at all. It might have been a MAGA victory, but it was not a conservative victory. It was not a fiscal conservative victory. Anyone who voted for that bill, that's why I like Thomas Massie, anyone who voted for that bill absolutely can never call themselves a fiscal conservative again. If you voted for a $4 trillion debt increase, that's ridiculous to me. I think the fact that the president is talking about sending the National Guard troops into states instead of just working with the states and their local law enforcement agencies to fix the crime problem. I think that is absolutely unconstitutional. Ask somebody at the Georgia Army National Guard. We have jobs back home. We don't want to go to these cities and actually take care of their crime. I absolutely do not want to see militarization in our streets. That's not something that the United States of America does. That's something that Russia does. That's something that North Korea does. That's something that Iran does. The United States of America does not need to put uniforms in our streets. And Governor Kemp, after 2020, has done a good job of not doing that. And I absolutely respect that.
Would you say you align yourself a little bit more with Governor Kemp's viewpoints and
Oh,
policies as
absolutely.
the president?
Absolutely, 100%. I very proudly campaigned and voted for him in 2022, and I was actually hoping he was going to announce for the Senate in 2026, and I was going to start campaigning for him, as well as myself. So, yeah.
Can I ask you about your relationship and identity with the LGBTQ plus community?
Yes, ma'am.
And there are some Republicans that are very, very much against it. Of course, Republicans are not a monolith. There are, of course, gay Republicans as well. How do you take your identification as a gay Republican, and how do you speak to those who might not agree with that lifestyle?
Because I understand why they don't agree with it. Just because somebody wants traditional marriage doesn't mean they're homophobic. We may disagree, but they don't hate gay people. Even a lot of the people who I serve with in the military are very conservative. I'm thinking of one right now in particular, and he probably knows I'm thinking about him. I love him to death, and he loves me. He just absolutely is set in his mind about gay rights and gay marriage, and I absolutely see where he's coming from. I will never demonize anybody for their beliefs, their religion, their vote, and I am a Christian. We just disagree on certain things, but the majority of Republican voters don't care. No disrespect, but it's literally the Democrat politicians and a lot of the media that just want to portray the homophobic Republicans on TV and try to label the party as that. The majority of Republicans don't care. Especially a lot of these old school Republicans, they have gay and lesbian kids and grandkids. They love them. And a lot of older Republicans that I know have actually evolved on the issue in recent years because of family members or because of how society is. Now the problem is the whole transgender thing has kind of hijacked the whole LGBTQ community and movement. If you're a man, you're a man. If you're a woman, you're a woman. I'm all for you becoming transgender, but biological men and women's sports is ridiculous. And I get it. There's not many college athletes that are transgender in the state of Georgia. But one biological man, literally, I don't care if you change your gender, you are still biologically a male. And the musculature, just the way you're built, I don't want to see a biological man beating the heck out of a woman in sports. It blows my mind.
Are you concerned that any policies and we'll stick with state because of course you're running for governor.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you think that any of those policies are dangerous for the LGBTQ community here in Georgia? Any of the Republican policies that have come out?
Not currently. No, even the National Republican Party took traditional marriage out of their platform. Now the Georgia State Party, I believe it's still in our Republican Party platform, but in the Republican Party platform, the Georgia State Republican Party platform, it does talk about following the state's platform or the national platform as well, and that was taken out before the 2024 election. And so no, I don't think even the transgender ban in the military, they're not just banning all transgender people in the military. There are people in the military who are trans. What they're doing is they're researching the kind of medication you're on, your mental and physical health, because if you're not deployable, you can't be in the military. And that's that's not just transgender, that's any mental illness or physical ailment, you get medically discharged. So it's not actually a transgender ban in the military. So there aren't a lot of there aren't many LGBTQ policies that I see in the Republican Party that are actually discriminatory, just common sense. That's just my personal opinion.
Thank you. Let's get into some of your priorities here. And I know what you said we can all see what you have on your campaign website, but let me just ask you, what is your top priority if you were to get this job?
I'm making things more affordable for Georgians. I don't want a $250 paycheck at the end of the year or tax refund at the end of the year. If somebody makes a very minimal amount of $49,000 a year with the current tax rate, which is very low, that's still over $2,500 taken out of their paycheck throughout the year. I'd rather have the $2,500 on the front end than $250 on the back end. But a lot of these Republicans talk about how are we going to pay for it? Well, Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones has been in office for how long, and now he's talking about it, that he's going to do something about it. So I'm glad he finally came around to.
And would that come with
now
eliminating the state income tax?
Yes, so that's what I'm alluding to. So now he's for eliminating the state income tax, so people are talking about how are you going to get the revenue for that? Well, I want the government out of our lives. I struggle with alcohol addiction. I'm almost 2 years sober now. Alcohol should have ruined my life by now. Legally, physically, financially, I should not be in the position I'm in. It's by the grace of God that I'm here today. But I also don't want the government to tell me that alcohol is bad and I can't drink it. Same thing now, just because I'm sober doesn't mean I want you to have to stop drinking. So where do we get the tax revenue from? Legalization of marijuana, regulatory legalization of marijuana. It is scientifically, medically proven to be astronomically healthier and safer than alcohol is. Also gambling. I'm not saying to put a casino in your town, but the fact that the government is saying you can't do it, that's unconstitutional. I'm here to tell Americans and Georgian adults that they are free to make any decision that they want. You just have to suffer the consequences if you mess it up.
And to gambling, legalization of marijuana, some people might argue that that could lead to addiction as well, which is why some people, not all, don't
Yes,
want
ma'am.
it. As somebody who has struggled with addiction yourself, how do you explain your thoughts on that to somebody who says, well, if we bring gambling here, if we bring marijuana, people are just going to get addicted?
I made adult choices. I did not use it responsibly like the majority of adults do. And I suffered the consequences. It's not the government's job to tell me what's good and bad for me. It's my own personal choice to either use it responsibly or not. Now, if somebody uses those arguments against marijuana and gambling, but they're also for now prohibiting alcohol, then I'll talk to you. Then you have an argument. But if you're not willing to say that you're willing to ban alcohol, but then you use the same arguments that somebody should be using against alcohol for the marijuana gambling issue, it's hypocritical to me.
You also say that you want to cap education administrative salaries and increase teacher salaries.
Yes, ma'am.
How would you go about doing that?
I believe the administrative salaries in Georgia is 80% of the salaries that we have, and I think that's ridiculous. We're expecting teachers to not just be teachers, but teachers and parents. I just met yesterday at work. I met a former teacher. I can't remember where exactly she was from in Georgia, but she said she left the profession because she was making $46,000 a year with 2 kids. That's disgusting. So she has her kids at home, and then she has how many kids in the classroom that she's literally a parent to for the full day, and you're only making $46,000 a year. That's not a livable wage for this teacher. And then all these administrators who aren't in the classrooms, and I get it, they worked their way up, but you're not there anymore in the classroom taking care of, you don't see, you're not the soldier on the ground in that classroom. The teacher is. So the fact that there are all these over $100,000 salaries for all these administrators, and at this point they're just politicians, that's extremely disappointing. And I say teachers, I also mean educators, as in, I believe an educator is a teacher, a bus driver, a cook, a janitor. All of them deserve raises. All of them are doing jobs that I don't want to do. I'd rather deploy every single year to be a teacher. It is a thankless, hard profession. So I truly appreciate everybody who puts their heart and soul into these kids and building our future, because they're not appreciated. I want them to be appreciated.
Speaking of teachers in school, another issue that comes to mind is school safety. In recent years, we've unfortunately dealt with an onslaught of mass shootings at schools, but also there's a gun violence issue outside of schools. Every single day here on the news, we talk about somebody being shot, whether that be on purpose, whether that be a baby getting hold of a gun. And of course, you know, Republicans have pushed back on any type of gun reform, specifically here in Georgia. You say that you are a staunch supporter of the Second Amendment.
Yes, ma'am.
How would you go about trying to solve the gun violence issue here?
So I truly believe it's about the mental health issue. And like I said, every politician says it, but they say it and do nothing about it. I want to do something about it. These teachers, it goes back to the teachers as well. With the proper pay for these teachers, it can help them take care of these kids more. Because a lot of these school shootings, I'm not defending the shooter. It's a terrible, terrible, terrible act. But a lot of it is just lack of parents in the household, bullying in schools. It all accumulates with these kids, and then they act out in a very, very sad, violent way. So it really is just about mental health, taking care of the teachers, taking care of the schools. But the NRA also does have, it's called the School Shield Program. I'm not saying that every teacher should have guns, but qualified teachers who are willing to have guns in the schools. I am a believer of, if there's a gun present, if somebody knows a gun is present, they're less likely to do a crime. And so I have to look into the NRA School Shield Program more again, but I'm absolutely in favor of doing something like that to try to prevent also with the gun issue outside of schools, the guns are going to be there. Banning the gun is not going to fix the issue. We don't live in the United Kingdom where guns have never been a thing. It is a thing. So by banning certain types of guns, all we're doing is limiting law-abiding gun owners' rights. I have a bunch of buddies who I've deployed with. I'm not a huge gun guy, I'm just a huge gun rights guy. I don't even have a gun, and I'm okay with that. I feel safe, I don't need one, I don't go out hunting. A bunch of my buddies do. And a bunch of my buddies who I deployed with, they come home and they literally build their own automatic weapons. It's like a hobby for them. Are we going to tell these service members who deployed and defended our freedoms that they can't have those weapons now? I'm not. That's not something I'm willing to do.
Are you open to something like red flag laws?
No, it unfairly targets veterans with PTSD. I've already looked into that. The red flag law, it takes away your constitutional rights by violates your Second Amendment rights, your due process rights, and it unfairly would target, I believe it was like 85% of the victims of a red flag law would be veterans with PTSD. And all that would do is discourage a veteran who has PTSD, even the slightest case, from talking about it and from getting the help they need because they don't want their Second Amendment rights taken away or allowing somebody to use that red flag law against them.
So in your opinion, and correct me if I'm wrong, the solution to this all lies within mental health. There are no solutions dealing with the gun itself that you would get behind. You say, don't touch it, there's nothing broken there, we need to be looking at it.
I'm not saying it's not necessarily broken, but mental health is literally the stem cause of all this. It's the root cause of everything.
So would you,
it's a pandemic.
said it's not, so you agreed that what I said, that there could be some improvement on the gun side. What improvement would you see there?
No, you're right. I'm just very pro Second Amendment. I don't. Tinkering with the gun laws is not going to stop the crime.
Yeah. So you would not, as
I would not. No.
Okay.
No, ma'am.
I just wanted to be clear.
Yeah, that's the one issue that I'm a very hard line on.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I want to get into something that you also mentioned at the NAACP gubernatorial candidate forum. You were talking about your fundraising, and I thought that
Yes,
was
ma'am.
pretty interesting. You mentioned that you raised $8,000.
Yes, ma'am.
And you donated $5,000.
Yes, ma'am.
Of course, $8,000 compared to some of your competitors is extremely low.
Absolutely.
And you've given away most of that money.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you decide to do that? And are you concerned that the lack of funding could really prohibit your campaign from going far in the primary?
I was actually talking to a friend of mine about this today. He literally said in a text message, you have to sell your soul to get elected. And I said, you're right, but I'm not willing to do that. Our political system is the greatest system in the world. Our checks and balances system is unbroken. It's politicians that make the system look bad, and it's the money that is corrupting them. In order to get on committees in Washington, you have to literally fundraise enough money for the party to get those committee assignments. They don't go for the best person, they go for the best fundraiser. A media outlet in Savannah literally told me to call them back when I raised $100,000 and they'd cover my campaign. We are buying these political seats while people are starving. Our lieutenant governor loaned himself $10 million. Now, okay, Attorney General Chris Carr says it came from somewhere else. See, it's all a money fight. That's all it is. They're not talking about the people of Georgia. They're fighting about who can and can't raise more money while people are starving. So The week that he announced, he loaned himself $10 million. I was behind a gentleman in a Kroger in Savannah, downtown Savannah, and his card declined buying a 6-pack of eggs. And then I get a fundraising email from Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones a few days ago that Jason Aldean has come to do a fundraiser for him, and you can buy a ticket for $500 to go see Jason Aldean to give to the campaign of a guy who just loaned himself $10 million. I'm not attacking him for it because I get it. Money wins elections. I'm trying to change it. And I know that a lot of people say they wish they could get money out of politics, and it's impossible, but nobody else has walked across Georgia twice like I have. Nobody else has run 2 marathons in 24 hours raising money for charities and nonprofits. So when I do these fundraisers, depending on what the charity or nonprofit is, I donate 50% or 100% of what I raise because my goal is, you don't have to be in office to make a difference. We can make a difference. That $10 million that Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones loaned himself, that could literally solve a homeless crisis in one of our cities. That money could be donated to help so many millions of people. It could be given to a food bank to feed cities or counties in our state. But the way the system works, we're wasting all this money. So I'm not going to take big donations. I tell people where the money's going to go. If it's half is going to go to my campaign, half to this organization, or all to this organization, that's how I'm going to do it. At least if you donate, you know where half of the money's going to go.
Are you committing to donating most of your campaign money to organizations of that money that you raise?
Oh, 100%. This is the way I'm going to continue campaigning. On October 25th, so next month, I'm going to do another walk to Atlanta. I'm going to start on Tybee Island, go up to Statesboro, Augusta University, UGA, and then I'm going to finish at the Capitol steps. And then half of that money that I raise is going to go to the American Legion in Statesboro for their homeless veterans program.
A lot of people will hear that and say that that's commendable. Your advocacy is helping people. But the reality is, without campaign money, you don't have money for mailers, commercials, the traditional campaign
Yes, ma'am.
arms that people typically go to. How do you plan on trying to really kind of get your name recognition out there statewide if you don't have those funds?
Interviews like this. Walking through towns that people have never heard existed in the state of Georgia. Walking through small towns that Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones and Attorney General Chris Carr won't even go visit because it's a town of maybe 500 people. They probably never even heard of this town. You know what I mean? And I'm going to be campaigning I'm not going to be going door to door. I'm going to be going city to city. Literally talking to people, putting myself out there. The NAACP forum you keep talking about, I was so proud and honored to be invited. I was the only Republican that showed up. They didn't have the current Lieutenant Governor and current Attorney General, whose job it is to talk and take care of every Georgian, didn't have 2 hours on a Wednesday night to go talk to the NAACP in Houston County. That's a joke. And now you want a promotion to governor? I will go talk to anyone, anytime, anywhere. The Fulton County Democratic Party could literally invite me to go talk and tell me ahead of time, nobody here is going to vote for you in the primaries or the general. I will still go talk to that organization because I would want them to know if I somehow had the honor of becoming the next governor of Georgia, I gave them the time of day while campaigning, and I will absolutely give them the time of day when I'm governing. Every Georgian counts no matter what.
And just for clarity for those watching, those candidates did send in videos, as well as Democrat former Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms, but like you said, you were the only one that showed up in person.
Yes, ma'am.
On the Republican side. I'm trying to be mindful of your time, and I just want to leave the last little bit open to you. Going back to that, you are relatively unknown in this race
Yes,
right
ma'am.
now. You have values that might, some Democrats might actually open their eyes to it, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Whereas some Republicans might also open their eyes. You might actually appeal to someone in the middle instead of just somebody to the right or somebody to the left. Of course, as a Republican, most people are trying to appeal
Yes,
to
ma'am.
those in the right. But who are you speaking to on this campaign? Who do you want to vote for you if you are able to make it through that primary next
In
year?
2022, we had a 12% voter turnout. in the primaries. 12% of registered voters in the state of Georgia voted in the primaries. In the general election, I believe it was close to 65% voted. So that's still 35% of registered voters in the general election, or eligible voters in the general election. And that's 88% of voters did not vote in the primaries. I want to up that number to 30% in the primaries, because I know those people are going to be voting for me. I've driven Republicans to the polls. I've driven Democrats to the polls. I got some Democrats absentee ballots when we were deployed last year, knowing they were going to vote for Kamala Harris, because I deploy for your right to vote. I want everyone to vote, no matter who you're going to vote for. I just want you to get out and go vote. My appeal is to every single American, whether they're Republican, Democrat, or hate both of them, whether you voted or not. But that person who has never voted before, I might look at you and say, oh, why not? I wish you had voted before. But I also want to look at that person and say, I get why you haven't. Because the only options you've ever had are the people that I'm running against, politicians. They don't give you a reason to want to vote. I'm running because, like I said, when I was in the thralls of my alcohol addiction and mental health issues, about 4 years ago, I did contemplate suicide. I was drunk at home, I had a bottle of vodka, and I had some pills, and I started taking those. That's how I know God exists, because nobody was with me. I didn't make a phone call. But somebody stopped me. It's because of God that I'm here today. I'm not saying God needs me in this race or anything, but I'm able to do what I'm doing because I'm alive today. I've been to that very, very dark place. As a Christian, my whole life is not about trying to get to heaven. My whole life is to try to help other people not live their own hell while they're here on earth. Because whether you believe in heaven or hell or not, it's eternal. And hell on earth feels eternal. And people are going through that every day. And it's not because Donald Trump is president. They don't talk about politics. They don't think about politics. They don't have time to care about politics. They're too busy taking care of their families, or trying to. They're too busy trying to get over their own addiction, but they can't talk to people because it has such a stigma attached to it. I want those people to realize, if you wake up in the morning with a little bit of light and you feel like it's just the darkness consumes that every single day, that I see you. And even if I can't do anything personally for you, if I was in the governor's mansion, at least those people would know, at least that guy whose card declined buying a 6-pack of eggs would know that there is somebody in the governor's mansion who truly cares about their well-being and is working every single day with every fiber of his being to take care of that person. Even if it's just a smile, it can save somebody's life. I never quit my campaign. I never quit my life. I've deployed 4 times. I fought for my life. I'm fighting for my campaign. I fought for this country. I may not have the money in this race. They will outspend me, but nobody's gonna outfight me and outwork me. That's something I will guarantee. I will be the strongest fighter, Republican or Democrat, in this race, and I'll be doing it for every single Georgian who literally feels like nothing out there, because they are something.
Mr. Yasger, thank you so much for coming up here to Atlanta and speaking with us. We appreciate it.
No, I appreciate you. Thank you so much.